Thank you, Chor Lin. I would now like to invite our next speaker to the stage, Dr. Hwang, an art historian, writer, and editor currently based in the Chinese Studies Department, National University of Singapore, as Adjunct Senior Lecturer. She was the founding director of the consultancy Kasuri Asian Art Research. She received her PhD from SOAS, University of London. She previously taught at SOAS and the University of Hong Kong and was managing editor for Orientations, the Asian Art magazine. Areas of research interest include Chinese painting, Chinese printmaking, visual, print, and popular culture, especially of the late imperial and republican period, historiography of Chinese art history, art theory, comparative modernities in Asia, contemporary Asian art, and Asian art in emerging markets. Dr. Hwang's paper is titled Nanyang as Holding Space, Zheng Ke Sojourn in Singapore, 1937 to 1940. Dr. Hwang, please.
Okay, thank you for that most comprehensive introduction. Thank you, Director Ting and his curators at the ACM for the kind invitation to present a paper at the symposium. This presentation is still a work in progress and may be, like Chor Lin's, a bit of an experiment and the first hesitant dip of mine into Nanyang studies. And it would not have happened if not for some serendipity. So I would like to thank my former graduate student Lin Fang and Dr. Lan Mian in Hangzhou for introducing me to the work of Zheng Ke. Dr. Lan has been working on a biography and chronology of Zheng Ke's life and asked if I could assist them in finding out more about the latter's activities during his sojourn in Singapore, where he had spent some time at the invitation of Zhang Ruqi. And quite by coincidence, members of the Zhang family were friends of mine. And so I would also like to thank Miss Selina Ang and her mother, Madam Zhang Zhifen, for their long friendship and their generous sharing of anecdotes, books, and materials on Zhang Ruqi over the years, and in assisting in some of my research here. So perhaps Zheng Ke, who's depicted here in a portrait in 1954, is a largely unfamiliar name to many people in the room. But as a result now of an exhibition in his hometown of Guangzhou in 2016 on the 110th anniversary of his birth, which displayed fragments of his earlier work, some of his earlier publications, examples of his later works and writings. His role in the global history of Chinese art is now being recognized. Okay, the portrait you see on the cover of my presentation was done by his friend, the artist Hwang in 1954, not long after he returned to the PRC in 1951, after living and spending much time in Hong Kong, in the Nanyang area, and in Europe. So in my case, I've used, okay, I should be using this one. Okay, I've used as a framework the psychological term of a holding space. So holding space is often regarded as a conscious act of being present, open, allowing and being protective of what another needs in each moment. When the words hold and space are put together, they embody the principle of surrounding the environment with awareness in a way that provides comfort and compassion for all. So I have used it here as an analogy for Nanyang, as a space with connections and networks of place, clan, profession, and commerce that welcome people of different views and persuasions from China who arrived, whether as migrants, refugees, travelers, or sojourners. Okay. The idea of Nanyang as a holding space lingers as nostalgia today, even in contemporary Asian art and culture. A striking, if fictitious example can be seen in the film, In the Mood for Love, okay. Where the newspaperman, played by Tony Leung, returns to Southeast Asia to recover from the end of his doomed love affair. while Wilson Sears' 205 series named Nanyang, not as two words, okay, is a reflection of the cultural resonances he experienced between Southeast Asia and Hong Kong during his childhood years. And in one of the more interesting examples from his series, here called Encore Quartet, because the end of the scene in the film, you see a sort of Leong Chiu Wai sort of kind of clinging to a pillar and sort of crying. But here he reimagines in Encore Quartet a happy ending for the film's lovers. Okay, the next slides that follow are examples of individuals who saw Nanyang as a holding space at difficult times in China's history, in the reformist and revolutionary movement of the late 19th century and early 20th century. So Koo Siok Wan, before he became a newspaper man, had provided refuge for Kang Yu-wei, who was a firm believer in constitutional monarchy. He established a Singapore chapter of the Bao Huang Hui to propagate these ideas, and in 1900, while based in Singapore, he attempted to lead the disastrous Han Ko revolt to restore the Guangxi Emperor after the failure of the 1898 100 Days Reform. On the other side, you have the Republicans, those who embraced the Republicans' beliefs of Sun Yat-sen, and a Singapore chapter of the Tongman Hui was set up in 1905, supported by Teo Eng Hock, Tan Chaw Lam, and Lim Nee Soon. So the reformers and the revolutionaries. You have the artists and the dreamers. So the tale of the writer Yu Da-fu's stay in Singapore and his subsequent death in Sumatra are well known. The time Shi Bei Hong spent in Singapore is also well documented. The photo on the left shows Wang Ying, the actress, later depicted by Shi Bei Hong in Put Down Your Whip, with Yu Da-fu and then Soka President Xi Jinlian at Clifford Pier in 1939. She and Yu both left for Indonesia when the Japanese invaded. So who was Zheng Ke? Okay, so this is kind of brief bio that's written in bullet point form there, so I'm not going to read through every one of it. He grew up in Guangzhou and was among the group of art students to leave in the 1920s for studies in France. And he moved in the same circles as Shi Bei Hong and was in the same cohort as Zhang Ruqi. So you can see from this picture in the 1930s, Zheng Ke here, and together with Shi Bei Hong, one of a couple of photos taken in France. Unlike the rest of his fellow students who focus on the fine arts, primarily painting, Zheng was drawn to the more plastic arts, sculpture, and also what was then referred to as crafts, gong yi yi shu, and industrial design. So this proves to be quite an unusual choice for the kind of modern Chinese artist, as China had no tradition of artistic sculpture except for religious and funerary images. Sculptors or people who were interested in the plastic arts were traditionally unknown artisans. And one traditional European format that fascinated him was that of the classical carved portrait medallion. So in 1929, he studied at the Bauhaus in Dessau, the only art student to have done so. The avant-garde painter Pang Xunqin was also known to have made a brief visit there Zhang was attracted perhaps by the ideas of Walter Gropius to reunite art and craft to arrive at high-end functional products with artistic merit. Wang Shoutzi, the noted design theorist, describes his surprise at seeing Zheng's detailed notes from his spell at Bauhaus. For Wang, when he was a young student in the 1970s, had been sent by his professor to visit Zheng, and Wang acknowledges him to be the first modernist in China. Okay. Zheng's return to Guangzhou in 1934-35 coincided with the rise of the woodcut movement when Lu Xun's protégés escaped from Shanghai because of political persecution. Many of these woodcut artists actually relocated in Guangdong province, and among one of many Zheng's cultural activities were his cover designs for the short-lived but very well-known woodcut journal 现代版画, Modern Printmaking. And a lot of these works that were in these magazines often took their inspiration from German expressionism and social realism. Okay. Zheng's career took a rapid upward trajectory during these early years. He was given a position at Rangqin, meaning Diligent University, which was established by the KMT. It didn't last very long. I think it went on for like all of 5 years, and as a professor of interior design. And he also went into partnership with several architectural firms in both Guangzhou and Hong Kong. 1935 was a stellar year for Cheong because he was involved in the interior decorator for the skyscraper Aichun Tower in Guangzhou. So here's Aichun Tower. It still stands today as a heritage hotel. And Liang You, the Young Companion, the Shanghai-based bilingual social magazine, featured a very dapper-looking Zheng Ke and his work. As a colleague of mine described it, it was the Tatler of its day. Okay. The Republican era coincided with the interwar years where cosmopolitanism was a norm in the Sinophile world. So if you look at some of the examples, these are two friezes, mid-relief friezes, that he'd done for the hotel and was illustrated in Liang You. It represents modernity, as in planes and trains, and agriculture. And symbols of plenty. Okay. So they were plaster panels yet created for the decoration of the building. So other examples of his work which appeared was of this sculpture bust, which shows a raw textured surfaces leaving traces of the artist and his instrument, and as well as some of his sketches were also featured, and it referring to him as the noted Canton sculptor Cochin. Okay. More significantly, he made the cover of the Liang You. It featured a medallion portrait of Sun Yat-sen by Zheng. 1935 marked the 10th anniversary of Sun's death. So medallions and medals arrived in the late Qing, and while medals were functional, medallions were often an art form. So the medal you see on the left with a portrait of the Emperor Guangxi was worn by the members of the Baohuang Hui, which I had talked about earlier. Okay. So in 1937, anxious to gain more knowledge on modernist developments in Europe, he set off for the Paris Expo, which had been built as an international exposition of art and technology in modern life. And it took place from 25th May to 25th November 1937. This was a particularly controversial exposition because Europe was already on the brink of war, with a civil war raging in Spain Picasso's Guernica had been on view at the Spanish Pavilion. More controversial, however, was the confrontational layout of these two grand pavilions belonging to Nazi Germany and the USSR facing each other. So they gave a hard time for the jury, and in the end, the jury made a compromise and awarded both pavilions gold medals. Okay. Just to give you an idea, the scale of the sculptures in these pavilions were monumental. In the German pavilion, when it was illuminated by floodlights at night, it showed Joseph Thorax, so that's sort of Hitler's and Albert Speer's chosen sculptor. Showed his work, Comradeship. So I've actually shown you the polite side of it, that stood outside the pavilion, depicting two enormous nude males, clasping hands and standing defiantly side by side in a pose of, I quote, mutual defense and racial camaraderie. Okay. The Soviet building, on the other hand, had a sculpture topped by Vera Mukina's Worker and Kolkot's Woman, a large momentum-exerting statue of a male worker and a female peasant, their hands together thrusting a hammer and a sickle. The statue was meant to symbolize the union of workers and peasants. So what did Zheng Ke make of these sculptures? Okay. We'll find that out later. While we don't know how long Zheng Ke stayed at the exposition, I believe he was still there in August when the World University Games took place. Although this medallion has not been identified in the catalogue of 2016, I would suggest that it was made for a kind of experiment for the occasion, as it has the word 8, the character 8, and the Republican year, 2016, which coincides with August 1937. It's a skilled work on many levels with its layered relief and the muscular and gracefully arched body of the javelin thrower. It might have been an experiment, and one wonders if others were made as well. Okay. On July 7th, 1937, war was declared between China and Japan. Due to difficulties in securing a passage back to Guangzhou, Zhang Ruqi offered Zheng refuge in Singapore. We know he arrived by December 1937 because the Hsinchu Jipo Weekend magazine, dated 26 December 1937, reports that Zheng Ke had been a guest of honor. So I'm guessing that this is the photo commemorating the occasion. At a Soka gathering where he shared his impressions of the exposition with fellow artists. Zheng Ke occupies the central place of honor next to Zhang Ruqi, which is on his second right. And according to his papers, he was also introduced to many other luminaries, and Tan Kaki was to have very quickly become one of his patrons. So what type of work did he engage in Singapore? Zhang found him work in a furniture shop, and I'm still sort of trying to find out which one this might be. And this is a design for a lamp and the realized, This is a design for a lamp and the sort of realized object from his Singaporean sojourn. Okay. So he was apparently involved in designing the interiors of a rather large hotel project. His biographers have referred to this as the 新加坡大酒店, and I have found no traces of such hotel. So I propose that this may have been the Rex Hotel, according to a news clipping of 1938, 6 March that I found in the Straits Times. The establishment, when it was previously owned by Wee Wu Yan, a Cantonese businessman and philanthropist, was called Nanyang Da Jiu Dian, as you can see from here, an advertisement for it here. So the sort of confusion between Singapore and the use of Nanyang could quite easily have been made. So according to Wang Shouzi, Zheng was most comfortable speaking in Cantonese, so it would not have been surprising that we might have arranged to get, I think I need just a little bit more time, have arranged to get Zheng the work. The hotel's new owner, Tan Hwang Ki, had an ambitious program for its decoration, so you will read from the first line of it that he spent $40,000 creating modern furniture. Okay, so the location of this hotel, the Rex Hotel, I couldn't get one of the Rex exactly, but in its earlier iteration as the Caledonian, the address is 77 Bras Basah Road, and it's where Carlton Hotel stands today. Okay, Zheng continued to produce his medallion art. This particular example shows a relaxed Malay man in shallow relief. As medallions were often made from molds, how many medallions would he have created of each design? And I asked the audience this question: might you have come across any of such examples of art in Nanyang? If anyone would be able to tell me, I'd be immensely grateful. Okay. Although I wasn't able to find his name among the painters at the exhibitions which were raising funds for war relief in Singapore, he made a medallion of a mother and child refugee. Okay. And it was called a Liuming Tu. So refugee pictures, Liuming Tu, a Chinese pictorial genre that goes back as far as the Song dynasty. It began life as a pictorial appeal to an emperor with the idea that the pictures would move the emperor to alleviate a famine when words could not. By the late 19th century, the selling of these images in the mass media to raise funds for charity was a regular practice in large cosmopolitan cities like Shanghai. And they were also called Tielei Tu, pictures that could wring tears out of iron. So I put two other examples of Liuming Tu here, one by the famous woodcut artist Li Hua, and one often described as Chinese Guernica. Only a fragment of this monumental Liuming Tu by Jiang Zhaohe survives. So there's a long story about what happens to the picture that I won't go into it. But the painter was so traumatized by the events that followed after his showing of the painting during the war, he never painted again, preferring to teach instead. Okay, so now we come to a kind of a mystery. Okay, we return to Zheng Ke. This set of pictures presented a puzzle to me. The Chang family showed me this picture once, and they wondered if the frieze had been the work of Zhang Ruqi, who had a passing interest in sculpture. But this second picture, okay, shows a very stylish-looking Zheng with the same frieze in a studio setting. Could it have been something they worked on together? In high relief, okay, depicting industry, labor, and construction, it seems like a decorative frieze that may have been commissioned for an architectural decoration with muscularity with a cubist feel. They are reminiscent of murals showing the reconstruction of industry after the 1929 depression, not unlike the murals of artists like Diego Rivera. Okay. In his oeuvre, however, so I don't know if he recreated this or he brought it home from Singapore with him. It's been renamed The Recovery of South Guangxi, Guangfu Nangui. So Guangfu, a very current word now. and it refers to the KMT victory over the Japanese in the late 1938 that broke the blockade of Canton. Did work on the frieze begin in Singapore in 1938? Did Zheng return to Hong Kong with this frieze? Or did he recreate another one, repurposing it, giving it a political dimension through its name? Okay. In the 2016 catalogue, this work has been dated 1943. By this time, Zheng had already been killed in Sojourn. Okay, so here comes the killer piece. In around 1940, Zheng received a commission from the Nanyang Chinese Overseas War Relief Commission, a War Relief Association, to create a tableau for presentation to Chiang Kai-shek. This prototype was never realized. With the Japanese coming close to Hong Kong, Zheng's studio and factory suffered damage, and the tableau was never cast in bronze. The photo here is the only record of the piece. Another photo of Zheng in front of it gives you an idea of its possible scale. Its busyness strays away from the clean line of his work. Under Republican Star of China, a barely clothed couple of uncertain ethnicity are shown in a forward-thrusting posture, not unlike the Soviet figures at the exposition. The blockish solidity of their bodies are not unlike thorax figures in the Nazi pavilion. In their hands, they seem to be holding weapons and forms of transport for war. Careful observation shows a traditional Zheng that brought many Chinese immigrants to Nanyang at the base, all set against a lush tropical landscape. It gives an impression of warlike savagery. Was this a concise representation of the Nanyang region, interpreted with a sense of the other from Zheng's cosmopolitan eyes? While the forward-looking artist might have approved it, would the more conservative communities, business communities that commissioned it, have done so? How would the ultimate recipient have made of it if he had received this tableau? So what kind of political or historical agency is embodied in this object? When I first saw it, you see the lyrics, the word strange fruit just came to my mind. So when I first saw it, I couldn't help but be reminded of that jazz standard sung in 1939, so very near in time, by Billie Holiday, called Strange Fruit. So even though its context couldn't have been more different, but in the view of impending war, destruction, and death, its lyrics seem to have the relevant, portentous meaning. So I would very much like to hear what the audience makes of this work that never came to fruition. Okay. So while the works that I've shown are not in ink, I hope it added another fragment to the pre-World War world of Nanyang, where creativity and community took a cosmopolitan interest in culture and the arts. As for Zheng, he returned in 1951 to China, closing his factories and studios down. He was initially given a prestigious position with the Central Cabinet, but was soon caught in the anti-rightist campaign for his early KMT connections and sent to the Laogai. And during the Cultural Revolution, he was sent to Gansu. He spent his later years in Beijing quietly, teaching and writing. He invented a mechanical way of carving with jade, worked on ceramics and glass, and he continued making medallion portraits for his circle of friends, mostly small-scale works. But he was even invited to consult on the coinage of China. Nevertheless, he died in 1987, an almost forgotten figure. But so here I end with a response to the Hwang Yongyu portrait I began with, Zheng's own version of a winking owl, a response to his friend's infamous painting. Thank you, and I'm sorry I took so long.
Thank you, Dr. Hwang. Please remain on stage for the panel discussion. Could I please invite Ms. Lee Cho-Lin and Dr. Yi to take their seats on stage as well. The discussion for this panel is chaired by Mr. Conan Cheong, Assistant Curator for Southeast Asia at the Asian Civilisations Museum, and the Curator for Living with Ink, the collection of Dr. Tang Zichuo.
Thank you, Lynn. Thank you, everyone, for your attention, and thank you, three of you, for your really amazing and enlightening presentations. And actually, I will sort of ask you a couple of questions and to hope to spark a bit of a discussion, and then open the discussion up to the floor for questions. And it really strikes me that all three of you kind of evoke the need for a new perspective or a new type of art history to kind of deal with this period of Nanyang art, of early Nanyang art, from Yi Lao Shi's text and image studies to Cholin, your evocation of the latest in Sinophone studies, and of course Yin, your the concept from psychology of the holding space. So it's really, I think you've really, all three of you have really managed to kind of bring up some new perspectives and new ways of looking at these artists and these paintings. And I guess the question I have, which I hope you can talk a bit more about, is I just like to maybe push you to think more, to talk a bit more about this idea of kind of localization of Chinese painting, of Chinese art in whatever that means, in the Nanyang, in the tropical region that we're all kind of talking about now. I think specifically kind of, Cholin obviously talking about kind of the coconut trees as a tropical analog to the traditional scholarly bamboo, which you kind of tantalizingly referred to but didn't really develop. Yin talking about, it really caught me the last sculpture with the lush tropical, the strange fruit sculpture with the kind of lush tropical background as a setting for war, which is quite different from the kind of idyllic idea of the Nanyang and the tropics that we see in, like, for example, the Bali paintings. And Yi Lao Shi talking about, I think, the idea of Xu Beihong introducing Ren Bonian, this sort of Shanghai artist, to the collectors in Singapore, especially Dr. Tan Zichuo, and kind of transferring that knowledge of the artist to the Nanyang region. And obviously we see the popularity of the Shanghai school in Southeast Asian collectors because of that. I feel like that's kind of a form of localization as well. So yeah, maybe first, if each of you have kind of a response to that question first. You want to begin, Cholin?
谢谢。那么我先来回应一下，因为现场有翻译，所以我刚才是用中文来发表，所以我就接着还是说中文好了。关于任伯年这件作品，当然我也提到过，就是它是受到了徐悲鸿的影响。那么所谓的 localization， 这个上海画派或是海上画派对于本地的影响，我想包括姚慕彤老师的书，或者是郭建超馆长的书里面都提到过了。这个大概是在二次大战之前。的一些本地的收藏家就已经很关注海上画派，这跟刚才我们上午提到过的，就是都市化的生活，然后工商业发达之后的这些商人收藏家，他们的文化品味跟他们在收藏作品的时候，他们对于作品的那种装饰性，或者说可以展示给公众欣赏的那个兴趣也有人说这个叫某一种所谓的南洋趣味我想这不完全是南洋而已，可能包括上海、包括广州这些商业城市的商人收藏家多多少少都有这样的这种文化的品味，然后对于收藏这样的作品的兴趣。那么我谈到的任伯年那个作品呢，比较特别的是他的艺术创作更强调某一种创新对于人物的观察，所以对应到我们这一次的展览我也注意到做了很好的一些比对，比如说黄宝芳的画跟吴昌硕或齐白石的同样主题的作品放在一起。那么其实人物画的部分也有，但是讲到所谓的本地化的部分呢， 也有一些老师上午跟还有楚林也都给我们看到了。在画本地的一些人物的时候，比如说马来族群的朋友，或者是印度族群的朋友的时候，虽然是用水墨，但是他在观察人物的时候，他的技法还是跟包括人模点一样，就是把人物做一种抽象化，也是不完全是一个纯粹的写实，还是有一种写意对于人物的一种欣赏的角度。那刚好这个主题的人物也都是非华族的，所以更能够显现出来一个华族的艺术家对于其他族群的人物的一种欣赏，还有怎么样去捕捉这个人物画的一些精神。这个部分因为在中国的水墨传统里面是比较少画到当然也有画一些所谓少数民族，但是血缘民族关系相差这么大的这个部分，我想对于水墨画的那个技法，掌握人物的那个精神特色是一个挑战。而我们的早期的一些画家，他们很成功的把这个部分掌握住了。我不能说这是受到任伯年的影响，但是从上海、从厦门所学到的一些中西结合的艺术的表现，是在本地的一些水墨画是呈现出来的。所以我也非常的重视本地水墨画的一种创新性。这个创新性从19世纪末到现在一直都还在延续着。
Okay, my premise actually started with Hwang, who I said was really the instigator of my very recent interest in Chinese paintings and Chinese medium art in pre-war and pre-independent Singapore. So it's I wanted to look at Chinese in painting to start with, and how image making was a process for these artists, and looking at them sort of in a cursory manner, it's easy for me to draw a conclusion, and they transported the bamboos into and tropicalize them, and coconut becomes the most convenient way of substituting the bamboos. But I think if we look at the emergence of perhaps Nanyang as a source of inspiration, I thought that it's probably more powerful to look at the leading figures of the 1920s society in Singapore, and which would mainly be the writers, the editors of the newspaper, the teachers, and people who were sort of straddling, like Khoo Seok Wan, sort of straddling between the fin de siècle, decadence of the Qing dynasty, and the more progressive modernist world, which I think he had a lot of trouble embracing. So I think that these are the ones who had the first struggle of finding a milieu that could allow them to express the sort of situations they were in, particularly after 1911, sort of grappling with the non-existence of an imperial power and the emergence of a new identity. So my intention was to find that poetry moment for visual artists away from the representation. It's easy to say, oh, he's painting a coconut tree with an atap house, and that's Nanyang, you know. But for me, I think it has to go deeper than that. And knowing that literary writers and lettermen were still wielding some power over the social psyche in Singapore, I conjectured that artists of that period, particularly the younger ones like Zhang Ruqi, Lu Heng, would have taken the cues from the literary circle. So definitely by the late 1920s, the sort of localized imageries were already formed, like I have shown in magazine covers and the sort of graphic, the whole genre of graphic art. So that really was my premise. I didn't want to stay on the representational level, and I wanted to, like I said, locate the moment of poetry. I wanted to locate the moment of epiphany. And I think that while Shi Xiangtuo wrote a lot about how he found inspirations living in Pekanbaru in Sumatra, he didn't try too hard to express that in his works. But Lu Heng, on the other hand, knowingly or unintentionally, he seemed to manage to bring out the poetry, the poetic moments of his environment, the capturing, the destructive forces of a tropical storm that would just come and go in a split second. The serendipity of seeing a kingfisher resting on a nipa palm. And like I said, nipa palms are rarely depicted by these artists. So that was really the main trajectory of my search for the genesis of Nanyang style.
So you kind of contrast Lu Heng with Shi Xiangtuo in that one artist was more willing to take these risks to localize what he saw versus an artist that remained more conservative.
Yes, I was interested in the struggles that these artists were going through. Although Lu Heng didn't have a chance to articulate that in words, but I think his works of art gave a lot of hint on what he was trying to do. And certainly when he presented formally the paintings that he would give to Xue Yongshu Xiaozhang or to participate in exhibitions, they're quite formalistic. They kept the traditional composition and sort of restrained spirit of things. But the second group of paintings I showed were his sketching. And one suspected he was doing demonstration, perhaps for his students at NAFA, because these paintings were found in the vicinity of NAFA many years later. So I think in private moments he had more freedom to express his intention, and these were perhaps just practice pieces. It's still difficult to know whether they led to some of his finished works. I mean, that's just still a gap that I'm trying to grapple with.
Well, I think mine's kind of a work in progress. It's got lots more questions than there are answers. And maybe it needs to lead us to rethink what artists who pass through think of Nanyang, or through what eyes they look through them. They may not, maybe through paintings and writings, as we've mostly focused on, and in other forms of arts that they've contributed to, I guess. Yeah.
我想要补充一点，就是刚才楚玲提到的那个南洋兄弟烟草公司，因为我在我的书《南洋风华》里面提到过了。因为我们今天也谈了很多关于南洋。南洋这个词，其实在以前到现在，我们慢慢的把它又是缩小又是放大。就在南洋兄弟烟草公司那个时候说的南洋，其实是相对于，因为在那时候北京对不起，天津有一个北洋烟草公司。所以这个姓简单的简氏兄弟，他们在这些他们是广东人，他们在广东、在上海、在香港，他们要以南方跟北方在做一种商业的对抗的时候，他说他是叫北洋公司，又是北洋政府。 那我们是属于南洋。那个时候说的南洋跟我们现在讲的南洋不一样，但是施香图的例子是把南洋从我们一般讲比较偏向于新加坡跟马来西亚的这个关系又扩大了，讲的是包括印度尼西亚啊，甚至现在有人还会说中南半岛，比如说柬埔寨啊，因为我们后来有一些画家也去了柬埔寨或者去 Thailand 去那个地方画画，还包括了菲律宾。也就是说后来慢慢的我们把南洋这个词跟东南亚好像有点合在一起了，所以在学术上面使用这个词呢，慢慢的会有两个观念，一个观念就是应该要坚持南洋这个词，因为南洋包括我们学校南洋理工大学，它是一个从华语然后变成英语，然后我们怎么说，我不管我用中文说或者是用英语说，我都叫南洋那么有人坚持是应该要用这个词来强调我们对于这个词的一种主体性吧或者是本体的认识，但是也有另外一种说法是这个词太过以中国的角度，因为我们在南边是站在中国的角度，那可能这个词讲宽一点用西方的概念来说，应该我们要讲东南亚那就是符合刚刚我说的扩大的南洋的说法了。我没有特别的这个偏好，是说到底应该我们继续说南洋，还是我们要讲东南亚？但是在今天这样的一个语境当中，我会比较偏向于我们还是用南洋这个词，因为我们用的这一些以前的这种materials， 包括绘画，包括文字、诗歌，全部都是在讲南洋。所以也许我提到这个想法是以后我们在做不管中文或英文的这个文字的这个说明的时候，可能也要再考虑一下我到底要用哪一个词。那这个词它在使用的时候，我的 self identity 是什么？就是我们今天会提到一些 localization self identity 跟 globalization 的时候，有一些词汇在使用的时候，我们会去考虑它到底要代表什么，也就可以回应刚才黄韵老师说的南洋风格是什么或者是甚至我们可以重新去想到底有没有南洋风格这是一点，就是这个词的。第二个部分我想补充是，刚才我在介绍任伯年作品的时候，我没有特别讲到那一点，是我还没有很深入的研究，但是这个我觉得这是一个公开的场合，就是在座也有一些做研究的人，可能也可以去想一想，就是包括任伯年的作品，他其实受到了日本的绘画的影响，就是浮世绘这个葛饰北斋这些绘画的影响它有很多很夸张的那个画法是跟日本画是很像的。那么前几年在京都的国立博物馆，他们展出了一个主题叫做中国近代绘画与日本，里面讲到的就是齐白石、任伯年、吴昌硕这几个对日本来说有密切关系的。那么回应刚才有能的那个问题，是不是我们也可以去思考，如果有所谓的南洋这个风格，从岭南也好，从海上画派也好，其实可能还有另外一个系统，这个系统是日本的系统，而且是日本的比较是有一种大众文化的那个系统。因为早上姚牧童老师讲到漫画 manga 呀，或者是这个木刻版画，其实这些系统包括刚刚提到的这些版画里面，其实它有一个来源，其实也是跟日本是有关系，它也可以往前再拉到鲁迅他在日本所受的教育。所以我是想，如果有在座的老师或同学想对这方面的研究再去做一些深化或拓展的部分，我想那个日本的那个脉络是可以加进来的。那也可以去支持今天上午姚老师所说的这个版画的那个部分。我们之前姚老师的书里面讲到了日本占领新加坡期间用的那种 image 的其实它是用的是很多是跟漫画这种就是大众文化是有关系的，这个部分可以把它加进来一起考虑。谢谢。
if you're talking about that, you could also bring into it the discourses of Pan-Asianism and where you locate Nanyang within that discourse as well. Yeah, because we have the tripods of India, Japan, China, and we're right in the center of that. So.
易老师你提到很重要的问题，就南洋这个名称也是比较难因为Nanyang is sort of a directional term as well, and the perspective of where you use the term Nanyang from is also quite important and declares your own position. But I think for interest of time, I think I should open it up for discussion. And 姚老师你有那个问题？
对不起，我做一点补充。有关于这个南洋，就是怎么说呢？南洋最早就是中国以南的这些部分都包括南洋，最早甚至包括奥地利都是把它叫做南洋。澳洲对，澳大利亚、澳洲对啊，所以后来慢慢的就有改变。尤其是在1920年代，我们对这个南洋，就是新加坡跟马来亚有个共同的共识，就是马来亚就是指新加坡跟南洋就是指新加坡跟马来亚。那么到了之后战后，又把这个南洋这个概念成为了东南亚，因为东南亚就是包括本来就是菲律宾啊，这周围的好像越南这些国家，印尼等等。早期我们也叫做南洋，啊，因为英国的一个学者，他把这几个国家都称为东南亚，所以久而久之，南洋就是等于东南亚。好了，现在问题来了，南洋画风有没有？这个问题困扰了我很久。我访问过很多画家，都是第二代画家。他们说根本没有所谓南洋画风的，也根本没有所谓的南洋画派。你想四大先驱画家不同的风格，即使是他们的学生传承之后，再也看不到第三代。若像这样的话，怎么能够成为一个派别？当我们讲岭南派，当我们讲海派，或者是讲扬州派，我们知道他的画的情况是怎么，马上就会知道的。好了，另外一个问题，今天我们要不要把我们一直强调的，把以往所强调的南洋来描绘新加坡的作品？南洋是包括新加坡跟马来亚。1965年我们独立了，马来西亚跟新加坡是完全两个不同的国家。我们如果认为我们的画是南洋画，那么马来亚的画家他们怎么讲？所以我曾经提议说，我们要以自己的画家为自豪，就好像我们的 SIA 这样，我们有自己的品牌。人家问你什么派，我是新加坡的画家，新加坡派，对吧？当代新加坡画，水墨画，当代新加坡水彩画，把自己的范围缩小，不要再跟马来亚在一起。但是我的这个论调也引起很多人的反对，尤其是马来西亚那一批。你说没有画派，我就是第二代，我的学生就是第三代，他们完全是从商业的角度来考量的。今天我们看第三代，他们的画盖什么章？新加坡人已经有自豪，我们可以站在国际上。我想我们的画家，我们艺术界的朋友，应该以此为努力的一个方向，而不要一直讲我是南洋画派，我是南洋的，这个历史已经不同了。南洋已经被东南亚这个名词所盖过了。谢谢，这是我的一个补充。 可能有很多人反对、不赞同。不过从我这几年来所研究的结果，我认为恐怕我们要做一些修正。谢谢。
谢谢姚老师的补充。So, do you want maybe some thoughts on whether, the Nanyang Hua Pai, does it really exist, and also if you think it's a useful category for us moving on now?
这个问题跟我们在谈什么是新华文学是一样的，就是马华文学的历史到底要写到什么时候，从什么时候开始？我想我们可能不会在今天就把这个问题说得很清楚，我们可能还需要更多的人一起来做研究。而我想更重要的是有更多的观众来看了之后，从观众的眼光里面看到他所看到的新加坡美术跟马来亚美术或者马来西亚的美术到底有什么区别。我在文学的这个部分慢慢的已经可以感觉得到马华的作家的写作跟我们新华作家的写作已经不一样了。可是就像今天早上郭馆长说的，文字跟图像或者是美术这个视觉的这个部分在表达的时候是不一样的。所以是不是观众们能够看得出来马来亚的画家跟新加坡的画家有很大的不同，像我刚刚说文学上面的区别一样的话，我觉得可能还要更多的一部分是美术的教育，一部分就是大众的欣赏的眼光这个我想我们还有一段时间可以慢慢的去思考，这也是一个很好的一个机会，让我们把这个问题提出来。那另外一点点，我想再用一点点时间，因为今天早上有一位老师问到了，就是poetry 跟 painting 的问题。刚好我在做这方面的研究很多年，然后我也就是组织了一个 Text and Image Study Society， 然后所以可以稍微提一下，就是Text and Image 用以前的所谓文人画的系统来说，就是painting， 然后上面觉得不够，我要一个诗来解释为什么我要画这个，或者是我有一些意见在画上面可能不能够表现出来，我用说的。可是我慢慢的这个 image 这个部分越来越占的比例更大，而且一方面是诗的，就是写作的人，就像姚老师上午也说到，诗会写的人越来越少了，所以慢慢的我们也可以说这是一种现代化的过程，就是text as image，所以我们把整个作品看成是一个 text， 然后我们用一个 image 的眼光去看它，所以整个它就是一个 image。它有没有诗可能不是最重要的，就是有没有 points 在上面不是很重要，可是有没有 poetic 的 image 这个是很重要的，就是我要看了这个作品，在这个视觉上面或者在审美上面有一种诗意。这个是我想是经过了那个现代化的过程当中越到了现在 postmodern 的这个时代可能就像林子平老师的那个书法一样变成一种画，所以 text 跟 image 之间的关系有了不同的时代的变化。这也是我想大家在看作品的时候会发现文人画跟现在人的艺术创作的创新性已经有一些很大的不同了。谢谢。
由于我现在的这个兴趣主要是在战前以及就是独立之前的中国籍的在新加坡、在马来西亚所工作或者是创作的画家，所以我觉得南洋这个概念在当时还是一个很新而且很时尚，可以说是很时尚一种主导的概念，所以我觉得用在那个时代，用在那个范畴里边来谈这些画家所做的作品，还是有它一定的那个时代意义。所谓是那个南洋是当时的一个 zeitgeist， 大家都在讲。所以我当然不可否认的是，当时画家，比方说张如期啦，或卢衡啦，或者是施香陀，他们可能没有太深入的去分析，或者是去解构这南洋的意义，到底是明代的意义呢，还是说大清帝国那个时候 看着南方的这些蛮夷的那种概念，还是20世纪比较现代化的一个，就是属于讲东南亚的这个概念感。易老师所说的，我觉得当时画家、艺术家可能在这方面没有特意的去深入的去这个解构。不过很肯定的是，他们平日看的东西，在报章上，尤其是当时报章啊、杂志，都是提同样的一个概念。所以我觉得，当我们是研究那个时代的一种艺术的呈现，一种从内心发出来的一种体现，我觉得南洋这个名词还是挺有它时代跟历史的意义的，很简单的。
I think I totally agree with Chorlin that it's a term that's of its period and of its time and of its essence, and it's about a place where, you know, pre-Cold War, pre-Cold War, which created Southeast Asia, but pre-Southeast Asia, it's evocative and in showing that the two contemporary things I showed at the beginning, it shows you that thing still lingers, that sort of zeitgeist, and it provides a kind of cultural inspiration still.
It's definitely disrupted, I think, by the rise of individual nationalism, and it's a post-independence dilemma. So we're experiencing it, we're questioning it now. But I think it's to me, it's quite useful to still use that paradigm to look at it. It's just that we need a new approach. We just need a new understanding to bring it further.
Thank you, everyone. And I think we kind of leave that question open and something that we can all kind of think about and discuss. And so we're kind of running out of time. So if you have any other more individual questions for the speakers, please come up with them during the break. So yeah, this is the end of our discussion now. Let me hand over back to Lynn. Thank you.
We've now come to the end of the first panel. Thank you very much, and shall now break for tea, which will be served outside the auditorium. The final session for the symposium will begin at 3:45 p.m. Thank you.